So we had this workshop last night, and there were about 12 or 13 of us there, and it was absolutely beautiful. I'm going to be putting out an article sometime this week called "Comedy in the Age of Zoom." And it's not just Zoom in particular. There's certainly other portals where you can share what you create. But we're going to call the article "Comedy in the Age of Zoom," and I'm reconfiguring a lot of what I teach as far as performance and public speaking to this which is going to be this social media and webinars, because this is going to be one of our main sources of entertainment in the near term, or even in the long term. Most likely, once this is over and things get back to the way they were before, and they will get back to the way they were before. It's not the first time the country has gone through such a situation, and the country got back to normal, and it was roaring. You got to remember that the Spanish pandemic, the Spanish flu in 1918 or so, was then followed by what was known as the Roaring '20s. So, excuse me, I got a little frog in my throat. I'm not eating frog right now. You know what? I might check it out. There might be something at the grocery store. Jim Lacey says from Austin, Texas, "Hello, Tony and Madam Producer." That is you, Shirley.
Hello.
She says, "Hey, Beck, heavy rain about to kick off here and scheduled to keep coming down for 5 to 6 days." Well, okay, it is sunny and breezy here and in the 80s. We are about a month away from what constitutes summer in Arizona. So we are really just taking it a day at a time right now and enjoying each day as it comes along. So I'll be doing this article, Comedy in the Age of Zoom, sharing with you my thoughts on how we're going to be able to still stay connected with one another throughout this particular portion in the nation's history. We'll be putting on a Zoom show April 17th at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And if you want to be an audience member at that show, and we'd love to have you, Facebook messenger me your email so that I can get you on my account. So I'm going to show you a couple fun things that I got here. Okay, we're going to talk about a couple things real quick. And this, ladies and gentlemen, you see that? Okay. Yeah, you see that? You see the red bird? You see that? I'm going to show it to my YouTube audience. You see that? You see? What is that? I'll tell you what it is. It's a baseball in a plexiglass box, and it is a Busch Stadium. I saw it live in St. Louis. Rawlings baseball that I bought in St. Louis, and then many years later was able to have autographed by none other than, and you can't see the autograph, it's hard. You can see that it is autographed. Ozzie Smith. Ozzie Smith, the Wizard of Oz, the incredible, stunning shortstop who played on those great 80s World Series teams for the St. Louis Cardinals. A stunning player for many, many years. There was a trade, and I forget who the Cardinals had a good shortstop, and I can't remember who he was, and but he was kind of a troublemaker, and somehow inexplicably they were able to pull off a trade and get Ozzie Smith, I believe from San Diego, and sent that guy there. And Ozzie Smith helped set off that 1980s era of dominance, in a sense, of the National League for the St. Louis Cardinals. He started out every year on the first game of the year by coming out and doing a complete, I believe, somersault, not a somersault, but stand in place and flip all the way over in the air. I saw him play. It was stunning to see. I've seen some great players in different sports. Notably coming to mind was seeing Kobe Bryant play basketball. I don't want to get into a Kobe Bryant thing here. I'm just talking about as a player. I saw him play the Clippers one night, and I go, wow, that's a player. Gary Templeton, my brother Jerry tells us, was the shortstop that the St. Louis Cardinals had, who was a very good shortstop, but was a little bit problematic. And somehow, but I believe Jerry was he was playing for San Diego, and Gary was playing for St. Louis. Ozzie was playing for San Diego, and that was the trade. And then the Cardinals went on to win the World Series in '82, and also be in it in '85 and '87. I don't recall. My brother will, though, because he's a baseball freak. I think those were the 3 National League pennants that the Cardinals were took in the National League in the 80s. I believe they only won one World Series, the 1982 World Series against the Milwaukee Brewers. Jerry will be able to tell us. Jim Lacey says, please find one of your albums with a tune on it to counter Shuttered by CV19 for rainy days. All right, so let's talk about music for a second. Okay, hello, Kara Robertson. How are you? Let's talk about music for a second. I got a couple things for you here. The first one, okay, very popular when I was a kid growing up in the Midwest. Very influential band. Here it is. See it? You guys see it on YouTube? Good looking album cover. This is Poco. Poco, all right? Poco was an incredible band, all right? And the original lineup was Jim Messina, Rusty Young, Timothy B. Schmidt, George Grantham, and Richie Fury. So that was the original lineup. This has some great tunes on it. You Better Think Twice was a huge St. Louis hit. You better think twice about leaving me behind. Honky Tonk Downstairs was a great tune. Keep on Believing, great sing-along. What else was on here that I really, really loved? Those might be the big ones. You Better Think Twice and Keep on Believing. They were a stunning group of musicians that were playing a syncopated country beat that was stunning. And all of us in St. Louis loved Poco. Of course, Richie Fury came over from, I believe, Buffalo Springfield, and later on.
They were well known for their harmonizing.
They were very well known for their harmonizing. Okay, Timothy B. Schmidt, of course, went on from Poco. Poco is often called the farm team for the Eagles because he still plays with the Eagles today. Jim Messina later on went on to have incredible success with Kenny Loggins and Messina. I highly recommend YouTube in this band, Poco. All right, because there were kind of 2 sounds to Poco. There was this sort of a fun, kind of real country-ish kind of thing, and then later on a kind of soft rock thing that was a guy named Paul Cotton joined the band and kind of changed it a little bit. And that happened with bands especially in the 70s, the way the Doobie Brothers changed once Michael McDonald joined them. The entire sound changed quite a bit. So I highly recommend this Poco album. Fun country rock. You'll dig it a whole lot. Especially check out You Better Think Twice and Honky Tonk Downstairs and also Keep on Believing. Please check out those 3. They're good time music to make you feel good. So that's one album that we're recommending today. And what we're doing here is you may have loved these bands when you were younger and totally forgot about them. You might even have copies of these records hidden away somewhere in the house. You might have CDs of these. Dig them back out. Listen to them again. It'll make you feel good. All right, it definitely will. And if you don't, look them up on YouTube, and you'll see some incredible singing, playing, and dancing. And that's what we all love: is a little singing, playing, and dancing. So you can even take dance lessons in your own house. Download Poco and learn how to do some sort of country hoedown dancing. Yee-haw, yee-haw. Do something like that. The second album we're going to talk about today is this. And look at this album. You see that on YouTube?
It's upside down like that.
No, it is. Sorry. See it? It looks good upside down, too. See it? And now you see it on YouTube. What is this? This is Blows Against the Empire. Blows Against the Empire. It's Paul Kantner and the Jefferson Starship. So, here's the back. The back is neat. The artwork on these albums from the 60s and the 70s was just absolutely stunning. Absolutely. I'm going to show you the inside of it, okay? Look at that. If you can, on YouTube, you can see the whole thing right there. I can only get so much on Facebook. So this was a side project of members of the Jefferson Airplane, okay? And in this band, the Grateful Dead, In this band were Paul Kantner of the Jefferson Airplane, Grace Slick of the Jefferson Airplane, Jerry Garcia, Bill Kreutzmann, and Mickey Hart of the Grateful Dead. Although it decidedly had a Paul Kantner sound to it. Jack Cassidy, David Crosby, and Graham Nash played on this album. Said Crosby, Crosby, Stills, and Nash involved. David Crosby and Graham Nash. Let's see, another guy is David Freeberg, who was a member of Airplane and Starship for many years. Harvey Brooks, Peter Kakawan, who I assume was a brother of Yarma Kakawan, and a couple of others. So this was a concept album. Okay, it was a concept album. It was like a spaceship album, very spacey. I'm trying to look here. The names of the songs don't even really matter. Sunrise, Hijack Home. Have you seen the stars? Sunrise, great slick vocal. Have you seen the stars tonight? Really nice driving music. And also on side one, the Baby Let's Go a Child. Side two was like a whole concept. Hello, Colleen McLaren. Was like a whole concept. And that's what they used to do a lot with these albums in the 60s. Kind of like what The Who did with Tommy, where one whole side would tell a story. This was a stunning record. Okay, very trippy, very 60s. As you can see, three of the major groups of the 60s coming together on a side project. So I think Paul Kantner was a little upset with what was going on with the Airplane at the time and kind of wanted to do his own thing, a little trippier. So oddly enough, this side project, very experimental, wide-ranging, jazzy, psychedelic rock and roll pop record, evolved into the Jefferson Starship. I mean, and when Airplane kind of disbanded, they became Starship, and that was when Marty Balin had that stunning hit Miracles from the Starship. But eventually Starship became like really, really pop. And they went from this wildly experimental, jazzy, stunning, bold music to being a band that put out the song "We Built This City on Rock and Roll," which has often been voted the worst rock record of all time. So, but if you get a chance, man, Google or look up "Blows Against the Empire," Jefferson Starship, read about it, and of course, Poco. Jim Lacey says Poco, another ridiculously fantastic group from back then. They were everywhere. Great singers, guitarists, pianists. You couldn't buy enough albums. All groups and all albums were at least very. Hold on, I'm trying to get the rest of this, Jim. We're simply great. Wow, what a collection you got! I got a little collection here. I always love Poco. We saw Poco a lot in St. Louis. They were they played St. Louis a lot. They were very popular in St. Louis. So we saw them a lot. I must have seen them 2, 3, 4 times. It became like a thing. They'd be on a bill and they go, okay, it's Poco. It's kind of like almost listening to a neighborhood band. What was that? My producer said to me, what show?
They came here a lot, too.
They came here a lot. They were a touring band. Here's the interesting thing that I've learned in this marriage from Cheryl. Shirley and I saw a lot of the exact same concerts at the exact same time, which means that they were on this particular tour, that I guess there were bands that would play Phoenix and then St. Louis, or St. Louis and then Phoenix, because there's so many groups, Poco and the Rolling Stones, on and on, that I saw them and she saw them the same tour. So that's kind of neat. Poco was big in Phoenix. Poco was big in St. Louis. The cool thing is I was listening to Dwight Yoakam's show on XM radio, and he likes to find records and play them and talk over them. And I love Dwight Yoakam, but he had discovered Poco and was playing it and just flipping out and how good that band was. He was just flipping out. So, and I actually, as he was talking about it, he's going, I don't know anything about this band. I thought, wow, I know more about a band than Dwight Yoakam does. So that was like a cool moment for me. So those are our albums. We talked about Ozzie Smith. That's right, The Wizard of Oz. We got an autographed baseball here from Ozzie Smith, the great shortstop. 2 great albums we recommend today. Jefferson Starship's first album, Blows Against the Empire. And, of course, Poco's debut album with You Better Think Twice on it. So Shirley and I still listen to this stuff in the car. We took a road trip a couple of years ago where we played a lot of Poco. the entire time, and I'm very, very fond of those moments and those memories. As a matter of fact, the cool thing is if you go back and listen to this music now that you may have listened to then, all right? If you go back and listen to the music that you listened to then, listen to it now, that you will form new memories with it. So my memories with Poco now are attached to listening to them in the car with my wife as we were driving from here to Los Angeles. Let's see, what do we got here? Colleen McLaren says, hi. She's watching. And then Colleen McLaren says, okay, I'm 48 years old and I finally got my first dick pic. Ugh. All right. That's good, Colleen. I'm glad to see that. That we have to discover new things in this day and time. In this day and time, we have to make the old new again and embrace the new. We have to embrace these things, okay? Do you remember when you used to say to yourself, man, if I had the time, here's what I would do. Okay, if we had the time, we would fix this. If I had the time, I would go through that. Well, for many of us, we now have the time. So now is the time to do it. For some of us, though, I know we don't have the time. I have many friends and family who are in the teaching profession right now, and the teaching profession immediately embraced learning online. That is something about America. As much as we malign the American educational system all the way from preschool through college, as much as we malign it, we are a nation of learners, and we value learning. We value keeping the mind occupied. So hitting the ground running, public school systems in both the primary, secondary, and graduate post-secondary fields set up online learning. And I have several friends and family who are now teaching online. And you know what? Right now, it's 2 to 3 times as much work for them because it's a whole different mode of doing things. And the preparation is different. And the planning is different. And the logistics is different. So we're going to remember some people as this goes on. We're, of course, going to remember the most important people, our first line responders, the doctors and the nurses, and everybody involved in saving lives and taking care of people. We're going to remember them. We're going to remember the first line people who are still out there in the world doing their jobs, from grocery clerks and firefighters and electricians and people who are working in the fire department and the police department. And we're going to remember our teachers, okay? Our teachers who are now doing kind of what I'm doing right now. They're sitting in a room, maybe alone, okay, maybe with a couple others, maybe with whomever they're quarantined with, okay, and they're reaching out to large groups of people and working hard to make sure that education continues in America, okay? Shirley Vicich says, Poco's song, Keep on Trying, one of the best harmonies I ever heard. And I'm not going to massacre it by singing it along right now. Keep on trying to get back to you. I can't do it. I can't even do it. So I wish we could play this stuff, but we can't. But I want you to listen to it. So we are going to keep our teachers in our minds, in our hearts, and our soul. And if you are living with someone who is a teacher right now, and then instead of going to work, they're in their living room with you, or they're in the room down the hall on their computer, realize the strain that they are under and give them some extra props, okay? Give them some extra props and a little extra love when their day ends. Because when their day ends, that just means they turn off the machine and there they are still, okay? You got to find new ways to decompress. Jim Lacey says, thought for the day. The sooner we stop getting together, the sooner we'll be able to get back together. Agreed. Suck it up. Find a new hobby. Build a model airplane. Write a song to the teacher you fell in love with, something, anything. I love that line, Jim. The sooner we stop getting together, the sooner we'll be able to get back together. All right? So I think we're going to wrap it up for the day. I want to thank you guys for hopping in here. Hello, cousin Mimi.
Jackson Brown has COVID-19.
Jackson, okay, all right. So, we're starting to see, of course, that a lot of performers are getting COVID-19. keep in mind, okay, we're going to keep our prayers going out to them, our prayers and our good feelings for them. All right. Many of these people are going to pull through. Okay. Just like you and I are going to pull through. We're going to pull through today. We're going to pull through tomorrow. We're going to pull through the next day. And how are we going to do it? By making today the best day we can possibly make it, by making this moment the best moment we can possibly make it. And by doing that, I'm going to see all you guys live and in person way before you know it. All right. I love you all very much. Ozzie Smith of the Cardinals, Wikipedia, quite a ball player. Poco, great band. Listen to their music. Jefferson Starship's first album, great album. Listen to their music. After that, but listen to that album. All right. Love you all. See you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Living on a Thin Line. I'm Tony Vicich. Bye-bye. And goodbye, YouTubers. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Jackson Brown, huh?
You want to see my